Hey folks, as the title says, that there's a lot of things that real estate brokers do that's really used car salesman. I'm a real estate broker and an auctioneer, and I'm going to give you everything that they do right now in this video that basically covers everything that they do that, you know, it could tick you off, but there's some things that just cross the ethical plane that I absolutely positively don't like. So let's talk about the first thing. It's like, how about sponsorships? You see them going in every single parade. You see these sponsorships, and they hand you a little koozie, or they hand you this cute little weight, and they want you to work out with their logo on the end of it, or they give you a pen or something like that, only because they want to put their name in your hands. Now, I could go out and get you 50 million pens, and I could go out and get you 50 million weights, but it's not going to make any difference if I suck at delivering the agency that you deserve. You want your house sold, you want your house bought, you want your house put on the market for rentals, you want it auctioned, you want it, you name it. My job is not to be a clown. My job is to be a representative of you to get your property sold or to get you in a property, not any of these gimmicks. And a lot of people fall for the gimmicks, and then they turn around and, like I just saw the disciplinary actions, they get hurt. And I don't care for that. The second thing is that there's a lawsuit that the National Association of Realtors and the MLSs have lost, in which they had collusionary aspects of their dealings, in which, in order for us to put your house on the market through the MLS, we had to be members of the NAR, and the NAR sent out a book saying, well, this is what we recommend as an option. However, the MLSs took it as this is going to be required, and some of your brokerages say this is going to be required, and some of your others are saying this is going to be required. However, every time that they make a requirement, this is what happens to your commissions. You're required to be a member of the NAR. You're required to be in the MLS. Are you required to be part of the local? Are you required to pay a split commission? Are you required to give your agency a split? So it's all a scam to ladder up the commission structure in order to really derail any kind of free market. So you wind up having to pay for other coincidentals too. So say, for instance, hi, I'm Matt Price, and I'm a real estate broker, and I'm a member of the NAR. And I said that like a pirate, by the way. And I'm here to sell your property. Well, and here's my standard commission. It's, it could be 10%, just as an example. As an example, because there's no standard commissions, even though everybody charges a percentage in about the 5 to 7% range. Usually it's in between the two. That's a hint. So what they do is they say, well, you know what? In order for us to be able to sell your house, Mr. Seller, we have to give 50% of our commission over to the buyer's agent. So they lost it because there was a collusionary aspect to it, which I kind of sort of agree with, where the seller was kind of sort of paying for the other guy negotiating against the seller. So that collusionary thing is what they lost the lawsuit out. And it was a $5.8 billion lawsuit. Now there's one in South Carolina, one in Georgia, and there's another one in Illinois, and another one that was filed right on the heels of that. Plus there was two others that were still pending that particular litigation. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to contact me to sell your house, you're only paying me to sell your house. I'm not going to pay other buyers unless you tell me to. And I think that is fair. because I'm going to disclose to you right now that in the contracts, it actually says that you will pay a buyer's commission here. And by the way, the MLSs say you cannot have zero as a commission. So that even added all of that flame to that commission problem that they had. So other deceptive things. They go to a seller and they have this letter that says, hey, I have a buyer for your property if you're willing to sell it. 90% of the time, they don't have that buyer. What they do is they want the listing so they can turn around, and when they put it up there, they're going to make you think that you brought the buyer, but then all of a sudden it's like, why are you paying for that other real estate broker who's not affiliated with your company? See where I'm going with this? So they're lying when they say that they have a buyer. Now, if they come banging at your door and it's a for sale by owner and there's the real estate broker and there's the buyer and they want to take a look, that's probably a good chance is when they have the buyer. I'm sorry if this blows a lot of people's minds about, how unethical they behave, but if you don't have a buyer, don't say you have a buyer. That is the most unethical thing that you can do, is you can deceive somebody into thinking that you have a buyer for a property only to get the listing. Because after all, that's what they're doing. There's also deceptive seller letters saying, hey, I have a buyer. Would you consider selling your property if I had a buyer, or would you consider selling your property to my buyer if you're willing to sell it? Not only that, but they also do it backwards. They also do it backwards saying, wouldn't you like to be able to have a buyer for your property, or wouldn't you like to buy a property that I have and I'm willing to go ahead and start the process of getting you into that house? And they don't have a particular house. Our job as both buyer's agents and seller's agents, the seller's agent is there to market the property so it looks like Disney's kingdom. The Disney castle with the flags waving and the fireworks and everything else. So when somebody walks through the door, when they do their initial inspections or they're doing their initial look, they have in their mind that they can live there. And when you are a buyer, we want to look for the properties that we think you would have in mind when it comes to walking in and saying, oh, well, you know what, that looks good. I like that. I don't like the paint color. And then we will level set you saying, well, the paint color really doesn't matter because when you buy the house, you can paint it any way that you want. Right? Because that's really it's not a factor. You have to physically, when you walk in, you're looking and you say, oh, well, it's baby puke yellow. That would look better as a nice gray or a light gray with white trim. Our job is to paint that picture for you in your mind, so you will be encouraged to pay to buy the property. Another thing that absolutely ticks me off is they utilize circle prospecting. And what circle prospecting is no more than, I have the phone book and I'm going to call this person here and I'm going to say, hi, my name is Matt Price and I'm a real estate broker in Fuquay Varina, and I wanted to know if there's any way in the world that I can help you. That's great. Some will say, well, what do you mean? How can you help me? Well, if you're looking for landscaping, you need me to help you move a bookcase or something like that, we could do that. All of those are sales calls. Even the ones where they call up and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Blank, I'm with Blank and Blank Real Estate Company, and I would like to know if you were interested in selling your house at blank. Those are all sales calls, and if you're on a national do not call list, you report them immediately. The only time that you will get a call from me is if you call me and I return your call to find out if there's something that I can help you with. Or if I have an ad and you click on the ad and you say, can you call me because I want to discuss my property? There's no sense in me banging down the doors of 10,000 people who are in our area only to see if there's one person who's interested in selling. Now, I will tell you, on the flip side of that, there's also a do not mail list. A lot of people don't understand that there is a do not call list and there's a do not mail list. How many times do you get a postcard in the mail and it has, oh, we want to sell your house, or it's a market update, or it's some other kind of thing? These are both sales calls. And one is at the level of do not call list. The other one is at the level of do not mail list. And if they both call you and they both mail a postcard to you, that's a violation of those things, and you have to go and report them. If you want anything done, you have to report it. If it gets to the point where I get about 6 calls a day from people who want to sell my house because they're so desperate that they're all the real estate brokers are broke because there's nothing on the market that is being sold. So they're desperately looking to list my property on the market so they can make a fast dollar. The other thing is that a lot of people fall for the guaranteed express iBuyer solution that they have out there. The problem with that is that you have a $100,000 house, they will give you $70,000 for it, and then they'll turn around and fee you down to $55,000 for it, and you may still owe $70,000 for the actual property. Now, I know that's an extreme look at it, but if you have a $300,000 house and they're willing to give you 70% of that, well, let's see, if I do my math right, that's 70, that's 140 plus 70, that's $210,000. Plus, not only that, but they will also deduct the $2,000 for paint, the $5,000 for carpet, the $10,000 for the roof. You see where I'm going with this? So it backs you into a corner where you're buying out you're cashing out all of your equity just because. And you have people who are like, well, you know what, our offers are stronger than anybody else's. Bull. Because they're in it not to sit there and say, well, we'll sell it for the same price that we bought it, because they won't make a dime of money on it. They're there to make a profit. Do not let them make you believe that their offer is the strongest. In this particular market where buyers are coming in, 55 in this county alone every day, in this market, a previously used house can sell in 30 days. It could sell in 14 days. It could be in 7. I did one in Sanford, and I put the sign in the yard, and within, I would have to say, 24 hours, I had a phone call saying, hey, I want to buy it. I had land in Chapel Hill. I put it on the MLS. Within about a week and a half, I had a phone call about that, and now that's under contract. Had a land down in Spring Lake. It was out there for about 6 months because it's land that had a house on it. You have to bulldoze the house. Well, it sat there for 6 months, and now that's under contract. So everything that I have is under contract. Am I doing this for your listing? No. But my job is to educate you as to the scummy things that they do. Now, not only that, but real estate brokers will steer you away from certain houses because of the commission structure. So if a particular house is at 1.5% commission, they will take you away from that particular house to drop you into a 2.5% commission property. They say they don't do it. They do it. Believe me. When this last thing came out and I said I will do 3% seller commission, that's it. No buyer's fees or anything like that. You should have seen the uproar from the real estate brokers who said, well, I'll never show that house to my clients. I can show you the form which shows that if they're not getting it from the buyer's agent, that they are responsible for collecting it from the buyer. But they believe that it all has to come from the seller. I'm sorry, those days are over. We're just waiting to see exactly where all of those chips fall. But in the meantime, if I am your seller's agent, I'm only representing you. I'm not representing every single person who decides to ring the doorbell. Now, if I have somebody who's a seller or a buyer who comes to me and says, hey, I want to see that house that you've got listed, are you represented? Yes, I am. Okay, well, that's great, because what I'll do is I'll go ahead and, talk with the seller and find out if reducing my commission is a good thing, because now I'm representing both sides. The information that I give the buyer is going to be highly scrubbed from what the seller tells me. And in fact, you should not tell your real estate broker anything until you have what is called a working with real estate agents understanding signed and an exclusive right to either sell or an exclusive buyer agency agreement, so you can trust what they're going to say. If you tell a real estate broker anything without going through that process first, they can go blab to their friends that, oh, look, there's somebody who works at McDonald's who wants a $100,000 house. And they have a dog and they have a cat and they have all this other stuff. So they'll tell that they are under no method of secrecy if you tell them anything. I mean, if you walk up to them and say, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $400,000, can you help me? If they don't immediately put that in your hands and say, here is the agency stuff. If I'm your buyer agent, I represent you. If I'm your seller agent, then I represent both. Then I represent the seller. If I am a dual agent, I represent both of you. And I cannot lie to either one of you. However, there are questions that I cannot answer because that is confidential to the seller. And on the flip side, there are things that I cannot tell the seller that are yours because I have to be confidential to the seller as well. So those are the things that really tick me off. And the one of the other things is that the forms, the amount of forms that a realtor has to go through, I don't know if you can see that or not, but they're pretty sick. They're pretty thick. They're thick and sick. There's disclosures that you have to have. So if you're a buyer, you should be looking for the mineral and oil, lead-based paint if it was built before 1974, 76. You also have to have a homeowners association disclosure. And then the last disclosure is a residential property disclosure, which you basically go down and see that the air conditioner was put in 2005, the roof was put on in 2021, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, those kind of things. If you don't get those when you first walk into that particular property, then your real estate broker is duty bound to get those to you before you put an offer in, so you understand what is going on with the property. I always get them before I go show the property so I can hand it to the buyer and say, here, this is for your review. Let me know what you think. Anyway, if you have any questions, Mr. Seller or Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Seller or Mrs. Buyer or Mr. Executor or Mrs. Executrix, please don't hesitate to call. Just don't hesitate to call me. This phone, it's my buddy. It's 919-614-6288. And if you have to rewind that just a little bit, and you will hear 919-614-MATT, which is 6288. This is Matt Price. I am your real estate broker and your auctioneer. If there's anything I can help you with, if there's anything that you need clarity about, if there is anything that you think is fishy with your real estate broker or your auctioneer, do not hesitate to give me a call. I am here for you. I'm not here for everybody else. Have a great weekend.